Welcome to the Protein MB podcast. I'm Jordan Sisiwa, and today we've got a discussion around capacity, and it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be full of stats because we've got President and CEO of CentrePort, Carly Edmundson, here joining us to talk about CentrePort. Carly, can you kick us off? Just jump right into this. Tell us about CentrePort and yourself.
Yes, thank you for having me, Jordan. CentrePort is an inland port, a trimodal inland port here in Manitoba, made up of both the city of Winnipeg and Rosser, so right in that capital region. It is 20,000 acres, which is just a hair larger than Manhattan. So it is a very large development, I believe the largest trimodal inland port in North America. And the whole idea is to harness the advantages that we have here in Manitoba around our central geographic location and our great access to transportation, both or all three, road, rail, and air.
Well, and I love it because this is the interesting thing that I learned about CentrePort is that it is the vastness and the amount of different companies that you and your team have brought together that. And I was the early successes that CentrePort had. It must have been because everyone just seems to just vibe and work and grow, and it's the exponential growth that's happened. So when exactly did CentrePort take shape?
It began back in 2009. That's when the CentrePort Canada Act was passed and created our project. That was really a result of some really dedicated business leaders in the community working together with various levels of government to put some strategy around all these advantages that we have as a jurisdiction. 53% of our province's GDP comes from trade and transportation activities. So you can imagine there's room for even more growth now that we have this exciting asset where companies can really grow their businesses and see a lot of efficiencies. You know, what you said is exactly right. Creating an ecosystem around these businesses where they have not only land and infrastructure and access to transportation, but also support services and a community around them to help them get what they need faster, better, cheaper.
And I think that's it is and if I'm not mistaken, I've seen it when I landed. Room to grow is the slogan at CentrePort, and everyone has seen when you land. CentrePort is everywhere, and I think this is the amazing thing about Manitoba and Winnipeg is when you come into this amazing city, where you land is the hub that we have for transport to the world and on a scale like no one else is really doing, and it's fascinating to me. So from the agriculture side of things, bringing in feed, sending out products. This is something that CentrePort, and as you're growing, can do better and better. But it's something that you can get done with CentrePort on a worldwide scale. So let's chat about that excitement of the size and scope of this, because it's crazy big.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you a little bit about the momentum of CentrePort as a project, and then maybe I can give you a couple of examples of some agribusiness companies that we're aware of that are doing some incredible global work. So since CentrePort began, we've seen about 2.3 million square feet of new industrial space built, and that's on about 2,300 acres. So that is proof that with the right infrastructure and the right strategy, momentum is generated. And this summer was a bit of a turning point at CentrePort. We reached a milestone of 400 million in building permits in CentrePort. So there's been a huge amount of investment from private industry who are all looking to move their goods efficiently around the world. Ultimately, when CentrePort's fully built out, which will take some time given its massive scale, as you mentioned, it'll be a boost to Manitoba's GDP of just shy of $8 billion. So the amount of opportunity that this is going to generate for Canadians and companies is really significant. We're really excited about it. And agribusiness and protein and that whole sector is a really big part of that. We see a lot of activity from that sector at CentrePort. That makes sense. Ag is one of the largest exports to our largest trading partner, the U.S., our neighbors to the south and around the world. If you look at the stats for Manitoba, some of our trade partners, USA is top of the list, but so is Mexico, China, Japan, Germany, Australia. We know of lots of companies at CentrePort who are working with these markets. Specifically, Manitoba Hemp Harvest is located at CentrePort. They're a global leader in hemp foods and health foods. And actually, their facilities at CentrePort, if you ever get a chance to see them, are carbon neutral. So they're a leader in many ways. Additionally, Imperial Seed is an agricultural company. They specialize in seed and forage products. They have grown at their site at CentrePort twice. So when they initially moved in, they've actually expanded twice since then. They now export to 30 countries around the world. And they also have a research and development facility on site. So it's great to see that once these companies move in, they already are experts in what they do. And then they're able to use our, space to grow, the ecosystem around them, and great location to grow even more.
Well, and I think the growth that you're describing has to be from the culture, and because again, you take the farming, you take the farming mentality or whatever. You can't grow if you don't have the soil. So let's talk a little bit more about the size and scope is one thing, but the speed and the amount of CentrePort. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, you're 24/7. There is transport, shipping and transport on a 24/7 scale. And again, that's my understanding, rare for most ports of entry, correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't call us a port of entry. That would mean that we were the border. So we're not that, but you're right. There is 24-hour movement of goods happening at CentrePort. That's well supported by our airport on site. Winnipeg James Armstrong Richardson International Airport is 24/7 for its cargo operations. Obviously, roads are open 24/7 as well, but CentrePort Canada Way, the expressway that goes right through the middle of our project, sees 5 million vehicles a year. So it only opened in 2012. So speaking to some of that momentum around the volumes that are moving through the footprint. And then for rail, we are uniquely positioned both in Canada and in North America. 3 Class 1 railways come through Winnipeg, and 2 of them have their lines on CentrePort's footprint. And the third, BNSF, can actually access the footprint through interswitching rules. So with CPKC, CN, and BNSF, plus the airport, plus fantastic highway infrastructure that's only going to grow, we really do have endless opportunity for companies to move their goods when and where they want to. And I'll also say, looking ahead a little bit, there's a lot of exciting opportunity with the Port of Churchill and some of the expansion that's going on there, to be able to have that close connection to a seaport. Now we're more than trimodal, we're all the modals. And the advantages from Churchill, 10 days closer to Europe compared to the Panama Canal, if you compare Churchill by sea. So we will continue into the future to harness these advantages and make Manitoba the undisputed leader in trade and transportation, which I would argue we're already well on our way there.
So back that up for me, because I'm going to assume I'm like most people, 10 days closer to Europe than the Panama Canal. So would that mean our southern trade partners, the better idea would be ship it up to Winnipeg and then let us take it out the northern route versus?
Sure, or companies already in Canada who are shipping out of other ports to go to Europe, it probably gives them a massive advantage then to go through Churchill and save some time. And time is money. 60% of the cost of any product is supply chain. So if you can save time and money on your supply chain, your cost of your product overall goes down.
Very interesting. Hey, this is something brand new to learn. So continuing, what does the future hold? Because the if I'm not mistaken, that Churchill thing is starting and growing right now. It's not a full swing, or is it in full swing?
Yeah, last year Churchill saw a 40% increase in the goods that went through the port over last year. So while there's still lots of building to do, they're already well on their way and generating that momentum.
Fantastic. And now let's talk CentrePort a little bit, because what good is a conversation if you don't talk about the future and how bright it is? Where is CentrePort seeing itself in the next little while?
Well, I mean, development, even through the pandemic, even through some of the challenges we've seen over the last few years, continues to be really strong. So I think more development, more companies moving in and moving goods is on the horizon. The CentrePort Canada Rail Park is a specific project right in the middle of the inland port that's going to offer companies strong access to rail. And phase one broke ground last year, so that's already well underway. So it's exciting to see some more unique transportation-based projects coming to light as well. And we're going to see more service land coming to market over the next few years, which is great. So one thing that I learned coming to CentrePort back in 2012 is that it's one thing to have land, it's another thing to have shovel-ready land, which means all of the infrastructure that you need, access to transportation, water, wastewater, power, all of those things. That's what companies want. They want to buy land that's shovel ready so they can build their facilities and get on with the business of doing business. There's going to be thousands of acres of that coming soon, including on the City of Winnipeg side of CentrePort, because they are currently working on the design for the first phase of water in those lands. So we're going to have inventory, we're going to have excellent infrastructure and transportation opportunities, and a really strong group of businesses already located there to help service these companies and help them grow, especially in the agri-food sector. So we see a lot of opportunity in the future in that sector, and it's so exciting.
I guess that's your life is transportation meets product, and bring all the best together, let them grow, give them space to grow. Mm-hmm. The next thing you know, you've got CentrePort with a huge vision and a huge amount of accomplishments as a team already. Like you just, I don't think, you know what, we've spent 12 minutes at this, and we've scratched the surface of just here's a few tidbits. It is a point of pride, I think, for Manitobans that know what's going on at CentrePort, just how excellent this province is. So I'm going to leave it to you. Any last comments you want people? This is stuff that they need to know. Some fun facts, especially for people like me who are then going to bother their spouses with information they found out today. Tidbit guy. So if you've got anything for us on that front, hit us with it.
You know, I would just say something we talked about earlier, Jordan, was that we don't, as Manitobans, always do the best job of being a little more braggy about the fantastic and global work that happens in this province. So one of the joys that I get to do in this role is brag on behalf of some of the companies at CentrePort who are doing great work. And we have global leaders at CentrePort. And some of those legacy companies too, I mean, MacDon, huge exporter of harvesting machinery, and that was one of the biggest exports actually in Manitoba last year was agricultural machinery. WinPack does packaging for all kinds of pharmaceutical products, but also pork and other agri-foods products. So it's not just about the agri-food companies themselves, it's also about having that ecosystem that do this already worldwide, and they do it well, and they're innovating and doing new things, and it's so exciting to see that happening right here. So I guess I would just say please call us. We are a connector. If you're wondering if there's a company on site at CentrePort already doing something or that you could speak to leverage some of the ideas that you have in your business as a protein producer or whatever it is that you do, please call us. We want to help you make those connections because, CentrePort is about prosperity for everyone. Just because you might not be located there right now doesn't mean that there's not a way for our project to help you with your business. So don't be shy. I have a wonderful team. Call me and them. We'd be happy to help you.
And I will vouch for that. Everyone I've ever met from CentrePort, I don't know if it's a hiring requirement, quick to help, very capable, very connected. And I can't brag enough, but we'll stop it there. And Carly, when we have more questions and when we need more talk on scope and size of just how wonderful this Manitoba market is, we'll be sure to have you back. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll talk again soon.
My pleasure. Thank you.